Hey friend, Roger Christofferson here again with another first listen review. Doing a little bit of a reissue today that I'm going to be babbling about, and I'm really excited about this one. And I've kind of started at the beginning of these videos now, or whatever these things I do are called. I'm babbling already. I'm asking to like, share, and subscribe to keep this music alive because of this type of stuff right here. Elton John reissuing his Captain Fantastic and the Brown Dirt Cowboy. Now, I don't often comment on the comments I got, but I had somebody tell me on one of my recent videos, just shut up and, critique the music or something like that. No, this is what we do here. We talk about music. I share stories sometimes, which I'm going to do today. So forewarning, if you don't like that type of stuff, I'm going to be telling a story. I have other people that comment in here and tell stories about the bands we're talking about. And that's what we do. We talk about music, we share stories that we've had with these bands, and we just give our opinions on stuff. That's what we do here. So if it's not your thing, it's not your thing. But, to take the time to comment on something like that, I just thought was very, very weird. Like, I can't understand how something like that could upset somebody so much. Just weird. But anyway, so just getting that out there. We tell stories here, and this particular artist is this one who it was a weird period in time where I came to find his music, and when I was young, I didn't really listen to Elton John. My parents, I remember they had an 8-track, and it was that Tumbleweed Connection. And I remember putting it in. I didn't care for it at all. And I was kind of going, I just learned how to start playing guitar, and I was, all into the heavy metal stuff, a lot of hair metal, and some classic rock. I was definitely in Sabbath, and The Who was my favorite band even back then, right from the start. Deep Purple, stuff like that. But, all the hair bands coming out, Dokken and Rat. So Elton John was nowhere on my radar in that period of time. However, when I got a little bit older, early 20s, I stumbled across an Elton John. It was Madman Across the Water. I don't know why I got it. I think it had something to do with John Bon Jovi singing Leave On. I know that's like a weird correlation there, and it's not the right album and everything, but I found an Elton John album somewhere. I remember getting it on cassette. I bought it somewhere, and I can't remember exactly where I got it, but I love that album. I'm like, what? I've been missing this whole time. So we used to make trips, like me and my friends, because there was no really good record stores in our town, real good record stores. There was a couple, but they weren't really good. They weren't big. There was this place out about 45 minutes away that we used to go to that was all used tapes and records and stuff like that. It was the tapes. We were all in the cassettes back then. I remember just having a bundle of money, drove all the way out there one day, and they had a ton of Elton John, and I bought a bunch, and I just dove deep into Elton John hardcore, and this was one of the albums that was in that bunch. And so I really haven't listened to this album much since that period of time. I'll be completely honest. There's other stuff that he's released. I've gotten everything. This exact album here, I have not gone back too much. So when I saw it was being, reissued with some extra stuff on it, I was very excited. Got it, obviously, because here I am talking about it. And it does actually have one of my favorite songs of his on here, which is Someone Saved My Life Tonight. For whatever reason, I just have always loved that song. Even though it says Sugar Bear in there, I think that's what it says. I don't know. Maybe that's not what it says. Maybe it's one of those songs that I've heard my whole life and I got the wrong lyrics, but I think that's what it says. I don't know. If I'm wrong, somebody please let me know. But I remember watching his one of these documentaries he had about the making of Yellow Brick Road, and this was kind of back in that same era where he was singing a lot higher than he is nowadays, or has been for quite a while actually. And they're just releasing albums boom, 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 one after another. Some couple times a year you get an album, which is crazy to think about what it's like now. It's 4 or 5 years or more before we get albums from artists, and this guy was releasing at least one a year, if not more. So. Sometimes there was so much at once. Maybe it was too much at once. I don't know. I didn't really buy stuff back then because I was way, way too young when this stuff came out. I was, merely a baby in diapers at this point. But anyway, this album kind of is just one I haven't got back to. So Someone Saved My Life Tonight, one of my favorite songs in there, so it was great hearing this again. This actually is not a new remaster, it's actually a remaster from 2016, I believe, if I remember reading it right. Now, I, of course, don't remember what I did with a tape or cassette, I mean. I'm still calling it a tape because I was just talking about tapes, but I don't even know where I put it down. I'm just talking off the top of my head here. So that was great. It was great hearing Captain Fantastic and the Brown Dirt Cowboy song, that actual song again. I think Tower of Babel is a great song. Better Off Dead just has like that cool, I don't know, this is one of those ones that got the lyric that kind of drew me in and kind of made me wonder what he's talking about in that song. Of course, Meal Ticket was kind of a weird one, more upbeat song, but I always like that one too. So anyway, those are like some of my favorites off the album. However, this one does have some bonus stuff on it. One being Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds, which I know I've heard before. I don't remember what that was off of, but I definitely have heard that one before. And his version of it's actually really cool. I'm not a huge Beatles fan. I like the Beatles, but I'm not like one of these diehard that has all their stuff. I've just always appreciated their music, and I've got like every Beatles album, but I'm just not, one of these people has everything that's out there of the Beatles. I just like their main catalog, and I like their songs. And this is one of my favorite songs of the Beatles, actually. So hearing Elton John sing it was actually really interesting, and his take on it was not out there, really weird or anything, but it was a really good version of it, I thought. It does have Philadelphia Freedom on here, which is a different version of that. Not one of my favorite songs of his, although this version of it was actually better than the one I remember hearing, and I don't know why that is, but there's just something that was a little bit different about it. House of Cards is also a good song, so enjoyed all that. My favorite part of this whole thing usually is when it comes to like songwriters and bands and how they create is the session demos, and there's several on here, and some are just not even like, there's one's not even titled, but there's got the Captain Fantastic takes. There's a couple on here where you can hear them. And the one thing I like is they didn't put them right in a row. There's one after another, like one take after another take. So it's like they listen to the same thing over and over again. They actually broke it up with some songs in between, which is kind of interesting. And you can hear them just yelling out verse and chorus and stuff like that in the middle of the songs. And there's a little bit of studio mumblings in between. And for whatever reason, I just love that stuff. It's just fun for me to hear and see, kind of like peeking into the writing process of artists, and I just find that super interesting. Even though these aren't songs you're ever going to go back and listen to because they're just works in progress, it's just fun listening to it. So I really enjoyed that part of it a lot. And the part I didn't think I was going to enjoy quite as much as I actually did was the end, where they have a bunch of live stuff from 2005. It's all from the Captain Fantastic. I think they're selling the 30-year celebration back then. So I mean, this thing's going on for forever. They already did one of these, but you got Captain Fantastic and the Brown Dirt Cowboy, and there actually talks a little bit about how he's Captain Fantastic and Bernie's the Brown Dirt Cowboy, and he kind of introduces it that way and goes into the song. They actually got Bitter Fingers on there, and my favorite, Someone Save My Life Tonight's on there, and I also mentioned Meal Ticket and Better Off Dead. They're all on here. So all my favorites from the album are actually in the live thing. What I actually really found interesting was that by this point, Elton's voice has gotten really deep. Singing high all those years obviously took a toll. He's got a much lower registry sings in nowadays, with a little bit of a rasp sometimes, and a very deep, chesty, almost baritone voice nowadays. And hearing him sing this stuff after just listening to it was like night and day as far as the dynamic in his voice. Although I did notice when I was listening to this, there was a little bit of rasp going on in some of the songs that I never really noticed before. I always just kind of pictured Elton as this really pure voice when he was younger. Although I did hear a little bit going on there, so I don't know if this is stuff that was covered up in the recordings, because I listened to everything on cassette when I was younger, and now it's all a little bit clearer. I can actually hear things a little bit better, but I did notice that in there, which is fine. I mean, that's cool. I got rasp in my voice when I sing too, and I have nothing against it. Actually, I think it's kind of cool, and artists have that grit and stuff in their voice. So anyway, that was my take on it, quick take. I want to keep this thing short. I keep going way too longer than I intend to on these things, but trying to keep them a little bit shorter. And that's my quick take. So if anybody has anything they want to share on this, if they've heard it, what their favorite part of this album was, or what your favorite Elton John album, or anything you want to talk about Elton John related, I don't even care. It doesn't even have to be Elton John related. Whatever, make a comment. just talk about music. That's what this is all about, like I said. And, you know, I'm sure they're going to keep doing these things where they're reissuing stuff. He's been doing this a little bit here and there. So until the next time, we'll see you.